So I quit my 9-to-5 job. Let me tell you the story. It's the day before I start my new job. I haven't worked a 9-to-5 in an office since 2014. Since then, I've been self-employed for 5 years until coronavirus hit. Tomorrow is my first day. I'm pretty nervous. I'm shitting myself. Not literally. Well, maybe. We'll see. I might be sitting here in 2 months' time being like,
I love this job.
One eternity later.
Do you remember a couple of days ago when I was like, I might be sitting here in a few months and I might be saying, wow, this is an amazing job, I'm so lucky. I just resigned. So back in 2021, I was looking for a job and I was doing the endless dreaded scroll on those job vacancy websites like Indeed and Reed, and it was soul destroying. Even when I did find a job that I kind of liked, I had an increasing surge of self-doubt. But then I found the perfect job. Out of the countless of years that I'd been looking for jobs, nothing compared. It was literally like someone had taken a snapshot of me and my abilities and my creativity and put it into a job description. I was like, what is this magic? Even down to the way it was written. It wasn't some like formal, boring jargon like I'd seen in every other job description. This was written in a fun and exciting way. And it was open to people who didn't necessarily have the qualifications. And I think that was a really powerful motivator because it soothed my self-doubt a lot. The only other job vacancy that I have jumped at in my entire life was when I saw the dog walking position. I had never updated my CV so fast. Like I
want this job.
And that was like 6 years ago. And since then, I'd never seen anything quite like it until this new job came around. So I thought, wow, this is it. This is the perfect job for me. And I felt like because you didn't need to have loads of experiences and loads of qualifications, the bar felt so low, it was easier to jump over. And the job itself was to make TikTok videos, Instagram videos, stories, captions, essentially short form content for a company which I won't name, but it was a fun company. It wasn't like I was gonna be doing social media for like a boring accountant firm or anything. Like these guys had laser tag, these guys had escape rooms, like it was fun. Like that sounds freaking epic, right? Going to create content in a fun environment, who wouldn't wanna do that? It was just everything that I'd been looking for in a job. The one thing they didn't mention was the money. I had no idea what the salary was. And I think this is really important because it emphasizes the fact that I was applying because it aligned with my specialities and my creativity. And I was like, yeah, I could probably do this. Like money wasn't the motivator for this. And so I applied. I sent them this YouTube channel being like, look, I can film the videos, I can edit the videos, I've got the personality, I would be epic for this role. And the whole job process took a good couple of months. It wasn't like one interview out, you're done. No, I had assignments to do. They gave me a subject and I had to create content around that subject. And this is really important because when I was making those videos, I had this fire light up inside me, like everything came alive. I felt so fulfilled in making this kind of content for them. And I made a corker of a video, let me tell you now. And it didn't stop with the assignments. Oh no. I had 3 interviews to complete. Although after the first interview, the guy was like, I'm just gonna put you straight through to the 3rd round because I believe that you are right for this role. Do you know how much that boosted my confidence? And in the 3rd interview, I not only had the interview part, but then I had to complete a task in real time and then speak to the CEO. I had no idea that that was gonna happen when I walked into that interview, let me tell you now. The reason why I'm telling you this and what I'm trying to get at here is going through all of that, I poured myself into this application more than I ever have in any other job in my life because I really believe that this was the job for me. And I think this is really important to keep in mind as I go forward with this story. That wasn't part of the story, but it is now. Anyway, I walk out of this 3rd intense interview feeling like I'd done my best. But I was pretty certain at that point that I didn't get it. And this was because they told me that they were interviewing someone else after me. And immediately my self-worth flatlined. I thoroughly believed that I was not good enough for this job and that this other person had better experience, had better creativity, had better ideas, better camera experience, editing, everything just flatlined. And I think what played into it was when I was talking to the CEO, he was going through my CV and he pointed out the fact that I had been a dog walker before this and that I'd never had a full-time job before, and all of these things that fed into my insecurities.
Big time.
Automatically, I'm believing that this other candidate is way better than me, especially on paper. Yeah, that was a very bold assumption to make. It was definitely in my opinion. I had no factual evidence to suggest that this person was a better candidate, but the guy was right. I'd never held down a full-time job before. I was a self-employed dog walker before this. But you know what? I walked out of that interview so goddamn proud of myself, so proud that I'd gone through everything and got to that point. But I was pretty sure that I wasn't gonna get it. So much so that the next day I applied for a new job. And in all honesty, I wasn't upset. I was kind of relieved by it. And you know how people say to trust your gut feeling? Guys, trust your gut feeling. So a couple of days later, I get a call. Hey, is that Kate? Yes. Hi, it's blah blah from blah blah. Congratulations, you got the job. I did? Instinctively, my heart dropped and I was filled with dread and anxiety. And yeah, I could have said, hey, thank you for that, I appreciate it, but no thank you. But I didn't. I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing, thank you so much. I had a couple of weeks before my start date and that ensued a huge amount of anxiety. Like, I fully believed that I had tricked these guys into believing I had the creative abilities to do this. Like, all of my skills and knowledge and creativity, which I definitely do hold, vanished. All gone. Like, imposter syndrome hit me so goddamn hard. I was like, oh my god, how have I tricked these people into believing that I'm right for this job? How have I done this? And it was a really difficult emotion to deal with. I felt so much fear and anxiety leading up to my start date. Like, I would just be going about my day and suddenly burst into tears. I started having massive anxiety attacks. I spoke to my counsellor a hell of a lot, and I was trying to distract myself with making the bedroom makeover series I did on YouTube. But numbing the pain for a while will only make it worse when you finally feel it. As Albus Dumbledore once said, 2 days before I started, I was desperate. I had to find a way of trying to cope, otherwise I was just gonna turn up on the first day an absolute wreck and a mess and be like, and so I decided to make wallpaper quotes for my phone. But not these fluffy quotes or toxic positivity quotes like good vibes only. No, I needed quotes that was actually going to help me through this, that were actually going to empower me. And so I made about 4 or 5 quotes, and they were a very basic design, but I sent them to my phone and I changed my wallpaper on my phone to one of them. And the one that I chose was actually something that I picked up a couple of weeks before when I was watching a video on TikTok that said that if you are ever in a situation and you feel scared of doing something, or you feel that fear and anxiety, which I definitely was, then say to yourself, do it for the plot. Do it for the storyline of your life. And as a writer, this really inspired me and it gave me the confidence I needed. So I changed my phone wallpaper to do it for the plot. And I'll get into my first day in a minute, but over the next few days that I was working, every time I looked at my phone and I saw the word, do it for the plot, it gave me the courage to continue, to keep going.
Yeah, so anxiety is a real thing. I know people think this is like ridiculous, but anxiety can do.
Anyway, my first day comes around and I am nervous as shit. Like, anxiety is so high, I've gone completely numb.
Okay, I am about to start work for the first time. So I'm actually going to be working with people again. I've actually had to put a bra on today, so this is strange already. And I've had about 4 poops this morning. Just keeping it real. But you know what? Everything I need is already within me. I'm going to do it for the plot. I feel like I'm going to throw up. It's fine. It's fine. I need to burp.
And within the first hour of me being at this new job, I realised I was sitting on the wrong side of the table. And I don't mean that as in like I was actually sitting on the wrong side of the table, like, excuse me, you're in my seat, do you mind moving? No, that's not what I mean at all. What I mean is, we had a meeting within the first hour talking about contacting YouTubers and Instagrammers and TikTokers to create content for their social media. And I was like, oh, I see now, brain. Yes, I see. I'm on the wrong side of the table here. I don't want to be backstage making content for a company. I want to be the content creators that are being approached by companies in order to make the content for their company. I see, I get it now. Thanks brain for making me go through all of this stress and panic and anxiety to get to that point. And don't get me wrong, everyone at this company was super lovely, but On the first day, I was completely left on my own. Like, I had no idea what I was meant to be doing. And then I was told that the next day I've got to drive to London. And then the day after that, I have to drive to London again to go to these different specific places. And I don't know if you've ever driven around London, but here's a word of advice for you. Don't. Just don't do it. It's the most stress-inducing thing ever, especially for an anxious person like me. Fun times. And apparently this was going to be a weekly thing. I was expected to drive down and around London 3 to 4 times a week. Like, that is not what I signed up for. There was no, this is your first week, we're gonna ease you into it. No, I was like thrown in the deep end. No armbands, a lung condition. I was drowning, okay? I was drowning. By lunchtime, I was holding back the tears. Like, I was really struggling. And by the end of the day, I got into my car and I held it all in until I left the car park because I was so afraid that someone might see me break down in my car. But as soon as my car left that car park, I broke. I was fully, uncontrollably sobbing, floods of tears, like audibly out loud. You would think someone was injured in there, I swear. And I was in such a state of shock and numbness, I could not speak for a good chunk of time. Then I had this conversation with myself, out loud, which I will never forget. It was a conversation between 2 parts of my brain, the angry side and the quiet side, or if you like, the head and the heart. So I was driving along in floods of tears, not said a word to myself. And then it all just bubbled up and burst out angrily. Well, what then, Kate? What? I was yelling at myself through the tears. This job was perfect for you in every sense of the word. If this isn't right, then what? What do you want to do? And immediately, this little voice said out loud, YouTube. And the other voice was like, say it louder. YouTube? You want to do YouTube? Well, what are you waiting for? No, what are you actually waiting for? What is holding you back? I'm scared. Scared of what? I was literally having this conversation between 2 sides of myself. I'm scared that people won't take me seriously for wanting to do this. I'm scared that people are gonna judge me for wanting to do this. I'm scared that I might fail. Kate, people are gonna judge you no matter what you do. If you do a job you hate, people are going to judge you for it. If you do a job you love, people are going to judge you for it. So you might as well do the thing that you love, the thing that makes you happy, the thing that makes you feel alive. And she was right. Up until that point, I don't think I'd ever said out loud or said to anyone that I want to do YouTube full time because I have this underlying fear that people won't take me seriously. I have this underlying fear of judgment. And that I might fail, and that I've failed many times before when I've made these videos and it's not gotten me anywhere. Knowing what I know now and reflecting on last week's video, it's a starting point. But I remember this conversation so vividly because it really nailed down what I actually wanted to do with my life and why a 9-to-5 job was never going to cut it for me. Because why would I put all of my creative energy into building someone else's business when I could be pouring that creative energy into building my own? Doesn't that sound so much more beautiful? And yeah, it's gonna be tough and yeah, it's gonna take time, but that shouldn't stop me. And it's never made sense for me to work a job you hate or work a job you dread going to. But that's a whole other video topic for the future. And by the time I got home, I was so puffy faced. I remember my friend sent me a message saying, hey, how did it go? And I sent them back this picture like, and then I walked through the front door and Mum was like, hey, how did it go? And I just burst right into a fresh round of tears. I was in so much distress. She had to guide me into a chair, for goodness sake. Like, I was not in a good way. And I will literally never forget this, but she literally sat down on the floor and held my hand and waited patiently for me to calm down. And I was so grateful for that. I was so grateful that she wasn't being impatient or getting angry at me for not talking. No, she made me a cup of tea and was so kind and considerate in that moment. And then she goes, so it didn't go well then? And slowly I started to tell her about everything and how I felt, and she listened to me and she was so supportive. And on the way home, that drive, I was dreading my parents' reaction. I was so scared that they were going to be so disappointed in me. And so I asked her, I said, are you really disappointed in me? And without missing a beat, she said, Kate, I could never be disappointed in you. That always makes me well up when I think of that. Dad was incredibly supportive as well, but I did get advice thrown at me from other people saying, hey, you should just give it a few weeks, you know, you might really get into it. But I knew by that point, it wasn't gonna last. Do it for the plot. Plot twist. Over the next few days, I woke up full of dread and anxiety. The drives to London was completely pointless. It was terrible for the environment, terrible for my car, and terrible for my anxiety. And it really dawned on me that I simply didn't care. I remember there was one time in the office when people were getting excited because someone had clicked on a pop-up or had X amount of visitors to this webpage. And I was looking around like, wow, you guys really care about this. I just had none of that. I had no attachment to the company. I had no desire or passion for the company. I just simply didn't care. And I realized that I would never have the same amount of passion as these guys did unless I was directing that passion into building my own thing. And I think it really put things into perspective that the only way that this was gonna work was if I worked for myself. That was the only option. There was no other way. And because I was driving down to London, I didn't get home till like 8:30 in the evening. And then I had to be in the office next day for 9 a.m. And I was exhausted, I was drained, I was feeling run down when I went into that office on Thursday morning. And then my boss came up to me saying, hey, you're gonna drive up to York and then Manchester in a day. And that was the point where I was like, enough is enough. I've done it for the plot, but now it is time to end this chapter. And I quit. Thursday morning, I was out by lunchtime and I was so goddamn grateful that I didn't have to work my notice, that I could just leave. And oh my God, the relief, the excitement that came back, the joy that returned, I tell you. And you remember what I said at the beginning? When I did those assignments for them, I felt so fulfilled and like this light and this fire in my soul. That's what I needed to follow. Every lesson you learn shows you the map to where you're meant to be. And like I said, money wasn't the motivator for me. You could pay me £100,000 a day to go back to that job, or indeed any 9 to 5. And I wouldn't take it because I respect my time and my mental health way more than any monetary value. And of course I realize I am in such a privileged position to be living with my parents because they are giving me the option to work on my businesses. And I will always respect them for that. And here's the thing, I don't regret it. Not one part of that journey do I regret. I had to go through the pain. I had to go through those assignments and those interviews. I had to deal with the overwhelming dread and anxiety. I had to have the breakdowns and the anxiety attacks. I had to because it guided me to where I'm meant to be. I needed to suffer so badly to highlight the fact that working for someone else is never gonna work for me. Even if it's the most perfect job and it ticks all of the boxes, it's not gonna work. And here's the thing, when I was looking for that job and other jobs, I was looking out of pure desperation and shame. Because I was 27 and I had never moved out. I was still living with my parents and I was so ashamed of that. I felt like I was so far behind in life. So I desperately searched for a job so that I could move out. That was the underlying intention behind looking for these jobs. And do you know what happens when you come from a place of shame and desperation? It causes so much friction in the mind. And it wasn't until after I left that job that I realized that I was meant to come from a place of love and gratitude. So I reframed the whole situation. And so instead of being like, oh my God, I'm so ashamed of still living at home with my parents, like Kate, that's so embarrassing, I said, wow, I am so grateful to be living with my parents because now, not only do I now get to work on my own businesses, but these guys are actually a hoot. Like, they're not gonna be around forever, and I'm just so grateful that I get to spend a good chunk of time with them now. Reframing the situation is so goddamn powerful. I'm not designed to do office work. I'm not meant to be another cog in the wheel of a big company. I've had 2 other 9 to 5 office jobs before, and unsurprisingly, I had the exact same reaction as I did this time. On the first day, at lunchtime, sat in my car crying. I felt this immense sense of discomfort, and I know it's important to step outside of your comfort zone, and growth comes from discomfort, but this was like stuffing me into a small space. Round peg, square hole. This was like putting a size 2 shoe on my size 6 feet. Like, it felt so restricted, it felt so wrong. And I can't walk like that for the rest of my life. I'm gonna do some serious damage if I carry on walking like that. I'm designed to make my own shoe. I'm designed to build the shoe around my shoe size and walk a fulfilling journey. We love a good metaphor. And some people find that the 9-to-5 shoe fits them like a glove. But I know that I am meant for more. And if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, I am also meant for more, then I think you know what you need to do. I think there's something better out there for you. Maybe it means that you get a part-time job in your local shop for a while, but you deserve to spend your time doing something you love. You deserve more than the capitalistic world offers you. And if you have a fire lighting up in your soul, it would be an injustice to ignore that. And yeah, logistically it's gonna be tough, but I believe in you and I am here to cheer you along the way. And I'll do another video about what happened next for me, but in the meantime, I am proud of you. The plot is thickening, and remember, at any time, you can call plot twist and quit. I'll see you in the next one.